let's talk about Clinicaltrials.gov. Clinicaltrials.gov is the official repository of FDA for the clinical trials. Any company looking into testing their product, it may be a new product or an existing product but tested on a new indication, on a new population, or on a new formulation, for example, tablets, but now we have a liquid formulation, for example, or injectable formulation, they will need to register their product, their clinical trials in clinicaltrials.gov. Now you may say, okay, but then what happens next? What happens next is that we may register the product in clinicaltrials.gov, but then we may wait a few months. Even you may see some studies that have been registered a year or 2 years before they started. But it doesn't matter. FDA just wants that we put put our study in the registry. Then when we are going to start, we are going to have someone from Regulatory Affairs or Clinical Research Department to come to the interface of clinicaltrials.gov to open the case for your study and then to update that case. Now, for example, it started. Now you may now come back in a month to say we have several patients who are recruited. You may come back a month later, so after 2 months after the trial, in order to bring another information into this interface. This will continue until the trial is complete. And then we will still add information about adding raw data, tabulated or not, in tables, in the in the interface of the trial. Now you may say, but this is easy. This is not easy because, first of all, we don't have just one clinical trial, okay? For myself, when I was, again, working in a pharma company, that was my first job, I was dealing with 40 clinical trials per year. And we had more than 40 clinical trials per year because I was working in a multinational company. So that was a full-time job, I can tell you, just to keep track of all of the changes into the studies, the reports, the populations, recruitments, analysis, writing reports, etc. That we had full-time jobs just for updating those, registries, because this is required by law. Now let's go over again how the clinicaltrials.gov works. Okay, so here what I did, I will go back again, is that I just wrote effects, or again, condition of disease. This is just a search box. You can search by location. You can look into what are the studies taking place in your own region. For example, just put a location or intervention or treatment or other terms or in a disease condition. Then the site is going to show you in a tabulated format, in a table that you see, the list of the studies. So for me, I did look into the condition that was heart attack. I could have chosen heart attack and stroke. For the heart attack, I found out that from the database I have 3,252 studies. Some are completed, as you can see. Some have no status, are unknown, because the person in Reg Affairs or Clinical Research departments, they didn't come here to update. They should have updated this. We also have studies with results. We have studies who have been terminated, those who are recruiting as well, and this is how you will be able to see which study has which status, what are the conditions or disease condition in in subjects, and then what are the intervention. Now I'm going to choose the study which is aspirin resistance and stroke risk. Interesting. This is completed as well. And when I click on that, what it shows me, the database is going to show me the study overview for that specific study. I see that there is a start date, there is a primary completion after 3 years, there is a study completion after 4 years. I had 93 patients. It was an intervention, so I was giving something, or it was not this case, but it could have been a surgical procedure, intervention. Or it could be, or it is, just giving a drug to a patient. And then we look into phases. Phase 2, we started with a low number of subjects, and then we continued with phase 3 for having larger or higher number of subjects. Then we look into the drugs. We didn't only choose aspirin, but we also used clopidogrel. So we were comparing our drug, aspirin 81 milligrams, with clopidogrel, and we also testing our aspirin 18 milligram with the aspirin at 300 milligram. Why? We are looking into an outcome. What is, again, the outcome that we need? We are going to be able to look into the outcome by clicking on different sections in the in this interface. Okay, so let me continue with the participation criteria. Who is eligible? What are the inclusion criteria to include a subject, and what are the exclusion criteria to exclude a subject? So here we see that we had no exclusion criteria. Patients had to just take aspirin or Plavix, and patients had, if they had a stroke or other cerebrovascular diseases. Then we can look into the study plan, where we will be able to see again, what's the allocation, what is the interventional model, if it's mask or not. It means if patients know what they are taking or not. And then in the tabulated summary, we can see what are the study arms or the groups of patients who are being exposed to different drugs or different doses. So here we see that we had a group which was called active comparator. Okay, 1, 2, 3, but group 1, the comparator was again Plavix, and we were just looking into using Plavix at 75 milligram every day. Then we also had a second group, and the active comparator was aspirin at 81 milligram per day, and we were giving our patients aspirin at 81 milligram per day. These are coated tablets of aspirin. And then active comparator is aspirin at around or a little bit more than 300 milligram, open label always. And then we gave it once a day, QD, to our patients. What we were measuring were here. So we're looking into the outcome measures. We were looking into platelet function analysis, PFA. That's why we have PFA here. PFA was performed using the PFA 100 device, and then they came up with several results that they could then compare the results of the platelet function analysis in between 3 groups. I don't want to go too much into detail of the scientific reason or rationale here, because I'm just showing you the database. However, you understand very well that with this information must be added, and this is critical. We have to add that. Who does it? Someone in regulatory affairs, someone in the clinical research department, maybe someone if you have another type of department like scientific information or libraries, depends, but someone with the knowledge of clinical trials, and someone with the knowledge of course, the ICH GCP or good clinical practice. And this is why, of course, when you're applying for jobs, even in Reg Affairs, having a certificate in ICGCP for Canada, if you're applying for Canada, is important. If you're applying for similar jobs in the US, of course, you have to take an ICGCP that is, again, compatible with the US regulations. Of course, you may say, but ICGCP is an international standard. Yes. However, the way that the ICGCP has been embedded into the laws and regulations of different countries, that way is different. Not at 100%, but some key terms, keywords are not the same. Deadlines or some requirements, some templates are not the same. So when you're applying for a job in Canada, make sure that you did complete certificates or corporate level certificates, for example, in Canada. Not online, not on Course Hero, not on Subscribe, whatever. These are all, again, I would say trainings that are not validated by a professor or by the professional. This is why when you add your certificates, okay, in your resume or in your candidate portfolio, if we see that this is from Course Hero or if this is from, I don't know, some unknown source, we may not accept it. And make sure that if you're working in Canada, that all of your certificates are based on Health Canada regulations, not FDA regulations. Even if we may still have a company where we are dealing with Canada and with the US as well. But make sure that, again, your certificates, your knowledge is up to date and it's related to the country in which you are working or with countries in which you are doing business. So now you see that updating this information takes time, okay? And I can tell you, based on my experience, it's sometimes 2 hours, not per day, but 2-3 hours per week. But if you have 40 studies, you see now that soon, I mean, it's very fast when it's going to take time to, I would say, more time in order to complete those information. Now, you can also look into the publications. This is Northwestern University. That was the sponsor, no collaborators. The principal investigator is this person from the university. If you have any question about the study, we are going to connect with that, again, principal investigator as well. You have access to the publications and, of course, all of the study record dates. You can also look into the record history of the study just to know more about the study. And the reason why I chose this example was not only to go over the content of the protocol, because we saw the protocol here, but it was also for showing you the results. So when you look at the results on the top, you're going to click on the tab Results Posted. Don't expect to have the entire summary report or articles. Of course, for this study, we had an article, but the article has been published. So it takes usually a year, maybe, just for an article to be published. It has been published, and then we added the results here. It's rare that we put results before having published the information, because, again, this is a trade secret. That's why. So if you would like to look at the results posted, you will see that the results are here, okay? But this is just raw data. No statistical analysis. Still, by knowing this, you can always conduct your statistical analysis. This is a very, very simple and very nicely well-designed study as well, to me, in my opinion. And again, here we have descriptive statistics. Here they are again giving you different measures that they made in different groups, group 1, 2, and 3. And then they continue with adding information about the adverse events, information about again, the limitations, if there is any, collaborators, if there is any, etc., etc. So now you understand that, yes, we do have those registries the one that I'm showing you is Clinicaltrials.gov, which is extremely important, very interesting as well. Another feature that this database has, and you don't have it in the updated version, is the version that we call classic version. I repeat, there are other functionalities that you can find in the classic website or the classic version. How you access the classic version? Go to the top of the website and then to the web page, and then go to your right. Click on go to the classic website. And then let me tell you why I chose that. Which is because in the, I can just put Canada, for example. Here, in the search engine, search that we have, I'm just going to search for Canada, and it tells me that actually we have 28,118 studies in Canada. Some are terminated, some are completed, some are suspended, some they are enrolling by invitation, they may be recruiting, they may not yet recruiting, they may have an unknown status, or they are withdrawals. So all of these different studies are here. Now you can, on the left side, for example, just click all, but just you would like to know which studies are not yet recruiting. And we see that among 28,000 studies that we had, we are having 27,627 studies that are recruiting. Oh, sorry. No. I did the opposite. I'm so sorry. I had to remove all of these and then to just check to see which studies now are not yet recruiting. This is it. So here we have 444 studies in Canada that are not yet recruiting, but they are ready. Very interesting. Now, allow me just to go back here, because I wanted to show you the previous perfect classic website. When I go to the classic website, I'm going to choose again Canada, and then search. And here, what is interesting is that you can also see all of the studies on the map, world map. So this is again an excellent tool for regulatory strategy, not just by looking into all of these studies, by looking into the list, then to just say what are the studies that are not yet recruiting, for example. Now you may want to see how many of those studies they are again in children up to the age of 17. Okay, I choose that. I'm making it more selective. Then I want to know how many studies in the world they are they are interventional. Okay. Then how many they have results? I don't want to know that. How many of them they are in which phase? I want to choose phase 2 and 3, and then I apply. Now on the map, I can see only studies that I chose. This is competitive intelligence, because I know now how many companies are testing again their products in the pediatric population. So, as I told you, my friends, it's extremely important that you're exposed to databases, to places where you know that the data that you get is accurate, even if, again, like when we refer to pharmacovigilance, for example, database, we may still have lots of cleaning before being able to use that database. But for this information, okay, which is not that sensitive compared to pharmacovigilance, here, this is just, again, a very simple use in order to see what are the studies, again, in the world. Now you can also, for example, just remove the not yet recruiting, remove the different updates, And then when I have this, I go to the map, and now I go to Canada, and I see in each province what are the studies. I can now, if I would like to know what are the studies in Ontario, I come to Ontario, and I can now see all of the studies in Ontario. And now I just want to know which studies are recruiting now, and this is in pediatric population. I apply this, and I'm going to have 569 studies. So this is a very easy, very straightforward way to use the databases that allow us to see what our competitors are doing. It also allows us to keep ourselves updated with the FDA website, which is here, Clinicaltrials.gov, and we can always get ideas from who else is doing what our competitors are doing, what are the timelines, because as you saw, you also write down how many patients, for which indications, for which drug, the eligibility criteria, and when it starts, when it ends. These are all timelines that are so important in business and in building our regulatory strategy.